stress depletes magnesium. Generally, women are going to be more likely to be deficient. Not all minerals are created equal. It's quite difficult to get enough from your diet. Key food sources of magnesium are quite simple. What it can really lead to is deeper, better quality. Hello, and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead. I'm one of the co-founders of Trinity Transformation and creators of the Fit Over 40 method. And together with our world-class coaching team, we've helped more than 6,500 women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to look and feel their best as they go through menopause. And for more information about what we do, go to www.fit40info.com and you can find all the details there. So today I'm going to reveal everything you need to know about magnesium, from the benefits to the risks and what supplements can help, and if so, which ones to go for. So magnesium is a mineral that affects a lot of things. That's the first thing to understand. It's not just something that does one thing. It serves a lot of functions in your body. So it can help with things like sleep quality. It affects blood sugar regulation, so how you process carbs and how your energy level can kind of fluctuate after consuming food. It affects blood pressure and how you regulate your blood pressure. It affects muscle and nerve function. It affects vitamin D uptake, which can be really, really important for all sorts of things, especially in winter. It affects brain function. It also affects bone density, which is a big concern from perimenopause onwards, as estrogen really helps to regulate bone density. It can also affect things like mood, and mood is obviously another challenging side effect of menopause. Mood swings, anxiety, overwhelm, depression can all kind of rise to the surface at this time. And if you have low magnesium levels, if you don't get enough magnesium and your body doesn't have enough magnesium to work with, because your body needs it for all of those things we just talked about, it can lead to things like broken sleep, so waking in the night, poor quality sleep, and that has a huge impact on so many things. It can lead to an increased risk of heart disease, which is actually the biggest mortality risk for women, especially post-menopause. A lot of people think it might be breast cancer, but it's not, it's heart disease. Can lead to an increased risk of osteoporosis, which can also be a very high cause of mortality because people can fall, break a bone, and a lot of people do not survive more than a year after falling and breaking a bone. It can lead to sarcopenia, so muscle loss. This is age-related muscle loss, which is very, very common and can really happen to a lot of people post-menopause if they're not doing the right things. It can lead to muscle cramps as well. So that's quite an uncomfortable feeling. And you may have had that where you get cramp in the night, your calf, your hamstring cramps up. That can be caused by low magnesium levels. And last but not least, it can lead to exacerbated menopause symptoms. So worse mood swings, more anxiety, more depression. And the thing is, everything I've just talked about, they're all things that can be affected by menopause anyway, due to reducing estrogen levels. So broken sleep, that's a very common menopause side effect. Increased heart disease risk. Estrogen helps to protect the heart. So as estrogen levels drop, that increases anyway, but low magnesium will increase that further. Same with osteoporosis. Estrogen helps to maintain bone density and muscle loss, so sarcopenia. Estrogen helps to regulate muscle. And we've talked about in a lot of other podcasts, other ways you can combat those. So generally lifting heavy weights for low repetitions, eating enough protein so your muscles and bones have that fuel they need to rebuild and stay strong. But magnesium is another factor in this. And then we have the menopause mood swings, the anxiety, the depression, the overwhelm. All of those things are affected by magnesium. So if you get enough magnesium, this is what should happen if you have enough magnesium in your diet. But there can be other things that kind of contribute to these things. So it's not necessarily going to cure everything, but what it can really lead to is deeper, better quality sleep. And in many cases, it can help with sleeping through the night. It should also help to lower blood pressure, especially for type 2 diabetics. So there's a small change in an improvement in blood pressure from people having enough magnesium. It's about a change of 2 units if you look at the key measures of blood pressure. But if you're type 2 diabetic, it can be 6 to 8 units with your systolic and diastolic readings. So it can really, really improve your blood pressure as well, especially if you are type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic. We get quite a lot of clients sign up with us who are pre-diabetic. We just had one a week or two ago who's reversed that now. And that's quite common for us to see that. But magnesium can also help with improving some of the symptoms around diabetes. If you have enough magnesium, it also helps to maintain muscle and bone. It's not the only thing. You can't just take magnesium and not need to strength train or not need to eat enough protein. It's just another piece of that puzzle. But it can also help with reducing menopause symptoms. So you will have less mood swings, less brain fog, less hot flushes, all of those things which most people really want to avoid around menopause. So I think we can establish magnesium. There's so much research now behind this, and there's so many very world-renowned experts who are promoting magnesium, from Dr. Mary Claire Haver to Dr. Stacey Sims to Dr. Andrew Huberman, and so many others that have said all these things, and it's all backed up by research. So it's a very, very important mineral that we need to have enough of. But how much do you actually need? That's probably the next thing we need to cover. So you don't need a crazy amount, but the average adult woman needs between 320 and 360 milligrams a day. And that's a general recommendation. And obviously it's quite hard to measure that without a supplement. How do I know I'm getting that much from food? You could track everything you eat and then look at your food tracking app like My Net Diary. We tend to find that's better than MyFitnessPal, but that's quite complex. And generally, most people are not going to do that. But the thing is, that's a range. And what the research shows is about 50% of Americans, and we can probably assume Brits are not that different if you're in England or most of the Western world, about 50% of Americans don't get enough magnesium in their diet, so they're deficient. It's about half, which is a big proportion. And if you eat less food, which women tend to do versus men, like that's just a general male and female number. And what we try and do here is look more at specifically what affects women, especially women over 40 and around menopause. Generally, women are going to be more likely to be deficient. And we see it a lot. I know other experts in the field like Dr. Louise Newson, Dr. Stacey Sims, as I mentioned before, also find a lot of their clients are deficient in magnesium. And one of the reasons this can happen is stress depletes magnesium. It depletes your magnesium stores faster. And most of the clients we work with are in busy jobs. They're in back-to-back meetings all day. They're in positions of responsibility. They've got a big team to manage, or maybe even the whole company, or at least a whole department of the company. It's pretty stressful. So they're going to be more likely to be on the low end of the spectrum than someone who's, maybe retired, not working, maybe a male who's eating more, because the more food you eat, the more you're likely to have enough nutrients. You might have too much of some things, like too many calories and store body fat, but you can at least get more nutrients in. But if you're already trying to restrict food, like a lot of the clients that we work with, we actually encourage them to eat more because they're not eating enough to get good results. One of the reasons for this is because they're not getting enough nutrients in. They're restricting so much that there's not enough quantity of food to get those nutrients. And I'll talk about where magnesium comes from in a minute, so you can see why that might be the case. So the target is about 320 to 360 milligrams per day of magnesium. But it is a general recommendation, and more active women need more. So you're going to be more towards that 360 milligrams a day recommendation. And again, that's still a general recommendation, and that's got to apply to women who are 20, whose hormones and body are working, really optimally, and women who are 80, whose hormones and body are not working quite so well anymore. That's just a fact of life. It tends to, the efficiency of everything in the body reduces over time. And if you're somewhere in the middle, but you're going through menopause, your needs are likely to be a bit higher. So how can you make sure you're getting enough magnesium? Because clearly it has a lot of benefits, and it could definitely help if you've got menopause symptoms. Key food sources of magnesium are quite simple. So dark leafy greens are number one. So things like kale, things like cavolo nero, broccoli, spinach. Making sure you're having a wide range of those. I try and add something like that to most meals, or at least to every main meal a day. I know it's quite hard to add it to every meal, so you might not get it in your breakfast, or you might have it in breakfast but not lunch. But this is why we'll come on to supplementation in a minute. Not everyone wants to be eating those things. Not everyone likes those things. And not everyone wants to have a load of them. I know I often cook quite a lot of broccoli, and my wife often goes, I really don't want that much. And she has a few pieces, but she doesn't want to have loads. Really, you want to be having a fist-sized portion, a closed fist-sized portion of colourful vegetables with every single meal. And then that will ensure you're getting enough of these minerals like magnesium. Other things that can help, nuts and seeds, they're a great source. So things like chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, almonds, cashew nuts. But again, the problem that can come in here is these recommendations are great. But if you are a female, generally women are smaller and can't eat as much as men without gaining weight and body fat. So if you're trying to make sure you maintain a healthy weight, and you're at a desk all day, so you're quite sedentary, you probably can't eat that much. Our clients typically will eat somewhere between 1,500 and 1,800 calories a day to lose weight, and maybe 1,800 to 2,000 to maintain their weight, which might sound like a lot if you've done extreme diets, but it's not a lot really if you track everything really accurately. And the problem with is nuts and seeds are mostly fat. Even if they're advertised as protein, that's kind of a new thing that's come in because food manufacturers know it sells food. They're not very high in protein, they have a little bit. They're good for magnesium, but they also come with a lot of calories because they're high in fat. Fat is the most calorie-dense nutrient, way more than carbs. It's 9 calories per gram. Carbs are 4 calories per gram. Protein is 4, and then alcohol is 7 calories per gram. So fat is the most calorie-dense nutrient that you can eat. And most seeds are a fat source, so that energy source for the fruit that they've come off. It's all well and good saying eat loads of cashew nuts, loads of almonds, but we've seen clients not be able to lose weight because they are having too big a portions of nuts every single day, and a lot of calories come in from those. So they are great for your health, but you want to be very careful with the quantity. The general recommendation for fat quantity is about a thumb-sized portion. Most people would have, 2 or 3 of those, and then before they know it, they're having 400 calories of cashew nuts or almonds or mixed nuts, peanuts, and they didn't realize that's the reason they're not losing weight. So it's a balance because we want to be a healthy weight. It's nice to look and feel good as well. That will take load off the joints. It'll give you more energy, so many things, fit back into your favorite clothes. But we want to make sure we're getting enough magnesium still. So the dark leafy greens are a much lower calorie source of these. But also the problem with some minerals is they are less bioavailable, which means your body can't absorb them so well in vegetable forms.
Imagine living in a home that you've cherished for years.
You've done your best to keep it in good condition,
But no matter how much you clean, paint, or repair,
the problems keep piling up.
the cracks are showing, the roof is leaking, and it feels like everything is getting worse despite your best efforts.
For many women, losing weight around menopause feels just like that,
You've tried diets, workouts, and advice,
where the results don't come and the frustration keeps growing.
That's where our Fit Over 40 private coaching program comes in.
Think of us as your expert renovation team.
We know exactly how to fix the root issues, rebuild your confidence, and create lasting results, just like restoring a home to its best condition.
If you're ready to finally see results that last, click the link in the description below now. Let us help you restore the body and the life you deserve. So another source of magnesium is fish and meat. So if you eat a variety of fish and meat and you eat fish and meat every day, you might be getting enough. But a lot of people we work with don't want to be eating fish and meat 2 out of 3 meals a day or every meal, which is completely understandable. And this is, again, where supplementation might come in. But generally, minerals are more available. Iron is another classic. People say get spinach for iron, but it's not bioavailable in spinach, which means your body struggles to absorb it from it. It's not in a form where you can easily absorb it. It's kind of like someone trying to pay you, let's say someone owes you some money, and they say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay you in rice. I'm going to pay you in £10 worth of rice, which is 4 bags of basmati rice I'm going to give you. You go, that's all well and good, but I can't use that cash then. I've then got to go and sell this rice, and it's a load of effort and loads of time. It's really difficult for me to use that as value, like people used to barter for stuff. Whereas if they just said, I'm going to give you £10, here it is in cash, I've transferred it to you, and now you can immediately spend it. That's what a more bioavailable form is like when it comes to nutrition. It's something that immediately your body can use rather than having to go through a load of effort to try and get it and tend to lose a load along the way. So for a lot of people, especially females who don't eat so much, who are trying to manage their weight as well, it's quite difficult to get enough from your diet. And the good news is supplements are not very expensive. And if you know which ones to look out for, it's an easy, cheap win, which may drastically improve your menopause symptoms and your health and your results. So what is the best form of magnesium if you're going to supplement it? Well, magnesium citrate or magnesium glycinate tend to be the best forms. And the reason for this is these are the most bioavailable. So the forms that are most easily absorbed by the body, whereas many cheaper forms are not. So things like magnesium oxide, for example. And the types of magnesium they usually put in a cheap multivitamin that you find in the supermarket is usually the cheapest form that is not very bioavailable. So that cheap supplement from the supermarket might have this whole list, and it says it's got your whole RDA or more than your RDA of all of these different vitamins and minerals. But in actual fact, your body can't use any of them because they're in a form that just goes straight out the other side. And that's why they're cheap. The supermarket's priority is not necessarily your health. Unfortunately, their priority is to get something that's really cheap that you can pick up on your shop. You're not going to go, oh, magnesium for £12, that seems expensive. But if it's £1.50 for a month or 3 months worth of vitamins, we assume that's going to work and improve our health, but they don't have to put any claims on it. They don't have to actually back it up with anything. All they have to do is say that mineral is in there in some form, and not all minerals are created equal. So cheaper forms of supplements tend to be in those that are not absorbed, but they're very cheap to make. That's their only priority. They probably need to make those pills for 20p, and you're not going to get anything good for that. So what you want to do is, I would tend to buy the supplements you need on their own, unless it's from a very reputable supplier that's put it together as a combination of things, and they really explain how they've got quality stuff in there, which is very rare. There are a few supplement companies that do that. But generally, I would just buy the specific supplement. And magnesium is one of the key ones that if we don't tend to recommend supplements to any of our clients unless they need them. But in some cases, we do recommend magnesium. For example, with clients struggling with broken sleep or lots of menopause symptoms, or highly stressed clients, they tend to need it the most. We then might specifically recommend a magnesium supplement. And that's either going to be citrate or glycinate. Glycinate sometimes listed as biglycinate or bisglycinate, which is the scientifically accurate name. But typically, you can just search magnesium glycinate and find it. A little bit of a risk with magnesium. There are also, every supplement has side effects, so you'll need to look those up, check that it's right for you, or speak to your doctor. But some forms of magnesium can have laxative effects, so that's something to be careful of. Glycinate or biglycinate appears to be gentler on the stomach, and I've heard from multiple different people and clients and experts that it's typically better for helping with menopause symptoms like anxiety, like insomnia, and chronic stress. Chronic stress is something we see in a lot of our clients. So I would go for glycinate or bisglycinate, and it's not super expensive. So for example, you can get a Nutrition Geeks branded glycinate 3-in-1 that is made in the UK. It's on Amazon in the UK. There'll be similar ones elsewhere. And 90 capsules costs £13.99. It's actually £9.28 in Black Friday as I'm recording this. And it contains 384 milligrams of elemental magnesium. And you need to be careful for this. So what elemental means is that's how much of the actual element is in that capsule, because this one is listed as 1800 milligrams of the supplement, which is way more than you need, where we talked about 320 to 360 milligrams for women typically. Maybe a little bit more for active women or stressed women. So 384 would be perfect. But when it says 1800, that's not 1800 grams of magnesium. That's how much the pill or the capsule weighs. But there's other things in that capsule, things to keep it from going off, and the capsule itself, the outer layer, which means it gets into your body before it's digested and absorbed. That all has to weigh something. So you want to look for the elemental weight. And this one is perfect. So that's 384 milligrams. It's a tiny bit above the recommended daily intake, but it's very, very fractionally above it. And as I said, if you're stressed, if you're tired, if you're experiencing lots of menopausal symptoms, you probably do need a little bit more. So this is a good amount more, but it's not a crazy amount more. You don't want to be going for 1,000 milligrams of elemental magnesium. You'll get terrible laxative effects and lots of other side effects. If you look at that on a daily basis as well, because it still sounds okay, $13.99. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. It's not particularly expensive, but that's 15 pence a day. You only need one a day. So you take one a day. Typically, I would take that in the evening. There is some research to show that magnesium can interact with calcium. So you don't want to mix the two, because that can stop you absorbing the magnesium and getting the benefit. So I wouldn't have milky drinks in the evening. I wouldn't have them anyway, personally. It's extra calories and extra food for your body to be digesting. And a lot of people don't realize they have issues with milk. So I would have, if you want to have a hot drink, have a chamomile tea, some sort of calming evening tea. Don't have milk late in the evening. And then you could have that with your magnesium supplement, half an hour before bed. And then you will be set up for hopefully better sleep. And I remember a specific client where this made a huge difference too. So one of my clients, Lou, she's a client that sticks in my mind because she lost 7.5 stone, so 105 pounds working with us. But one challenge she had throughout that period, due to what seemed like early perimenopausal symptoms, was broken sleep. So in the night, she was waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. and she couldn't get back to sleep. And That's a really nasty side effect, which is very common through menopause, where you're just sat there. It's almost like insomnia. You're awake. You can't do anything. And if you don't get enough sleep, it can affect hunger hormones. It affects cravings, and it can undo, you have worse energy. You can't focus at work. It can make it very hard to actually succeed with a weight loss program because everything's against you. Your hunger hormones are against you. There's a lot of research showing you will eat a lot more. One study found people ate 300 calories more per meal, sleeping 5 versus 8 hours. And that could be from waking up at 3, 4 a.m. for a couple of hours. You could get just 5 hours sleep rather than 8. And it's about the quality of sleep as well. So for Lou, I knew it was really important that we got that sleep back in a good place. And so I recommended a magnesium supplement like we've talked about today. She started taking it. Said it may or may not work, but let's give it a shot. It's a relatively low cost thing to try first before we look at anything else. And her rest of her menopause symptoms weren't particularly bad. So she didn't need to look at things like HRT at that point. And it massively improved. She then was sleeping through the night again, almost immediately after a couple of days. Once those magnesium levels built up, she was sleeping through the night every night. And then her cravings were much better again. Her energy was much better. She was performing better at work, and her results continued. So that's just one example of someone feeling a lot better. And I'm sure she got other benefits from that magnesium too, but the sleep was the one we really saw a big benefit of very quickly for her. And Lou also lost a lot of weight. So I'm sure you were intrigued to hear more about her story. So this is what she spoke to me about. So I interviewed her, and this is a compressed version of that interview, just taking out the kind of key bits. So Lou said, "My name is Lou Marsh. I'm 47 years old, living in rural Staffordshire, and I've been a forensic scientist for over 18 years. I work long hours, and until recently, I thought my busy life left no room for focusing on my health. Outside of work, I love horse riding, a lifelong passion, but my weight and injuries had made it increasingly difficult to enjoy. A year ago, I was at my heaviest, 16 stone, 13 pounds, with a BMI of over 40, placing me in the severely morbidly obese category. I was wearing a size 20 to 22 and struggling with severe arthritis in my foot, which stemmed from a horse riding accident in 2004. The pain had worsened over time, especially after a more recent accident. I relied heavily on painkillers just to get through the day. Exercise felt impossible, and I was losing mobility fast. I was in a dark place, knowing that unless something changed, my health and quality of life would continue to decline. Over the years, I tried Weight Watchers, Slimming World, and even extreme low-calorie diets, but none addressed my unique challenges as a woman in her late 40s with emotional eating habits and physical limitations. I realized I needed a specialist approach, someone who understood women like me and the specific obstacles we face. And that's when I found Trinity. What stood out was their focus on health, not just weight loss. Their holistic approach and support from expert coaches immediately resonated with me. After reading Ben's emails and having an initial consultation, I decided to take the leap, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. In 18 months with Trinity, I've lost 7.5 stone and dropped from a size 20 to 22 to a size 8 to 10. My BMI is now well within the healthy range. While I'm not quite finished with my journey, I feel healthier, more confident, and more in control than ever before. But the transformation has been much more than about numbers on the scale. I've learned how to eat mindfully, manage emotional eating, and enjoy exercise. Strength training, which was entirely new to me, has become something I genuinely love. This transformation has impacted every aspect of my life. I now ride my horses regularly without fear of judgment or discomfort, and I've even added a new horse to my stable. Everyday activities from mucking out the stables to shopping for clothes are now enjoyable rather than daunting. My wardrobe is filled with colourful, stylish clothes that I feel proud to wear. But Trinity hasn't just helped me to lose weight, they've given me the tools and mindset to live a healthier, happy life. For anyone considering joining, I cannot recommend it enough. If you're ready to commit to change and work with a team that truly understands your journey, Trinity can transform your life too. And the best bit about all of this, so Lou lost that weight over 3 years ago now, just over 3 years. And she's still maintaining it within a couple of pounds, so I check in with her regularly. And despite going through a tricky period of menopause symptoms recently, and caring for both her parents, who are regularly in and out of hospital. So one of her parents, none of her family was fit and healthy. She's the only one who's ever made a change like this. They all thought they were just big boned and that's how they're meant to be. We had to do a lot of work on that because she couldn't believe it. And they were all quite negative towards her because she'd proven that wasn't the case and it could be different. But she's now maintained this for 3 years, despite all of those challenges, despite having to care for both her parents. both of which are in and out of hospital all the time. And it's a really, really tough experience that a lot of our clients go through. And it just goes to show what is possible with the right approach, with the right support. And look, magnesium was a very small part of that journey, but I wanted to share with you to inspire you that not just by looking at little supplements whether it's magnesium or taking something else, but also that it is possible if you do want to make more significant changes like Lou, it is possible. And we've got thousands more case studies like that. So if you would like to transform your body and your life like Lou did, like thousands of other women have done, and you'd like the support and guidance to do so as quickly and easily as possible, you can find out more about everything we do at fit40info.com. So that is the word fit, the number 40, the word info.com, and you can find all the details there. That just about wraps it up. Really appreciate you joining me. We'll catch you next time for another episode. I'll see you then. If you're fed up with trying everything and seeing no results,
Watching your weight creeping up and struggling to fit into your clothes,
and you're looking for the fastest and easiest way to get your ideal weight
and never have to worry about your weight or health again,
you can save yourself years of trial and error by letting us take care of the hard work for you in our Fit Over 40 private coaching program.
Over the past decade, our world-class team have personally guided more than 7,000 women to take back control of their health and confidence, and more importantly, maintain those results for life.
If you're ready to finally get results at last and find out how we can help you do that too, click the link in the description below to get the full details now.